the Whiteside County Soil and Water Conservation District. So good morning, Dave.
Good morning. Very good. You remembered that, Greg. I'm impressed.
Well,
That's
it's
good.
about time. How many years have we been doing this?
Yeah, there you go.
We got a lot to talk about on your list, and so I'll try not to be throwing in too much banter.
No, please do.
Let's start off with, instead of going to number one, you mentioned this before we came into the studio here, and topic number 10 is ticks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they've gotten very active in the last couple of weeks. Now, this cold weather might slow them down a little bit, but be very, very careful if you're in any kind of grassy area. I know my wife picked up one and working out in the yard. We live in kind of a rural area, as you know, but the grass isn't that long, but she certainly got one. It was attached, and I had to do a minor surgical procedure on her to get it out. And but just keep in mind that besides Lyme disease, which is very serious, there's other diseases they can carry, and they're just as serious. But be aware, if you let your kids go outside, even if you live in town, every once in a while, once a day before they go to bed, maybe check their hair. The ticks have a tendency to migrate towards areas of fairly good blood flow, like the scalp. And basically, unless your children or you have very, very short hair, the only way to find them is to actually take your fingers and run it through the hair and the scalp, and they'll feel like a tiny little pimple. And the one I picked up the other day, and the one that was on my wife, was very, very small. It wasn't a deer tick; it was an immature dog tick. But they can carry the same type of diseases as other ticks, and get very, very sick. So just be cautious. Long socks, long pants. If you're out in the woods a lot, treat your clothing, treat your equipment. Insect repellent, I haven't had real good luck with it as far as putting it on my skin. The best thing I've found is treating my clothes with pyrimethamine, and that does a really good job. I've actually found dead ticks on my pants where it's killed them. Don't get it on your skin, though, and I would not put it on your pets, especially cats. It's deadly to cats. And but it works on camping equipment, clothes, boots, the whole bit. That's what I would advise, is treat your equipment. I know it's tough with kids, but just check them, check their clothing. Wear light colored clothing, so if you do pick one up, it'll show up. And check around the base of your scalp and around your ears. That's usually where you have them. So.
Well, you mentioned dogs and cats a bit, especially if they're outside a lot.
Yeah.
Even if they're in the yard.
Yep.
But especially if they bound out into some.
Yeah, and I know there's been a little bit of concern the last 6 months ago about one of the flea and tick products that's been causing some problems nationwide. But there's other products out there that you can use. I treat my cat several times a year, and she doesn't get out that much, but she goes out and walks around the yard and then comes right back. But it'd be enough to pick up ticks, and we found them on her before. So yeah, definitely that's a good idea. If you're unsure about it, consult your vet. They have a variety of products they can put on your pets and treat them. And you don't want the pet carrying ticks into your house either. That's not a good situation.
Okay, let's go back to topic number one, cicadas.
Yeah, we're getting into the cicada cycle here. I checked the nationwide map the other day, and it looks like we're not due for the big onslaught of cicadas until 2024. Now, that's not to say we're not going to get cicadas coming out this year. There's different species, and they'll stay underground. The nymphs will anywhere from 13 to 17 years and then emerge. And what they do is they actually feed off of the sap off of tree roots, and then they come out. The ones that most people are familiar with are the 17-year cicadas, but we still got a few more years before that. Most of them are going to start on the East Coast and work their way towards the west. So we're looking at 2024, that spring, to really have the big onslaught of the cicadas. So be prepared.
So they come at different times in different areas of the country.
Yeah, it just depends when they laid their eggs and when the nymphs hatch and crawl back into the ground. As a kid, I was always fascinated with the cases where the nymphs will usually crawl up onto a tree and shed their exoskeletons or their outer skin, and then emerge as adults. And I was always fascinated by those skins on those trees. I don't know why, but I always thought those were the coolest things in the world. But yeah, cicadas usually don't cause any problems. They're annoying sometimes at night when they're sounding off. And it's only the males that make the noise. They're attracting the females.
Mm.
And the weird thing is once they've emerged as adults, they don't eat again. Their sole purpose in life is at that point is to breed and lay eggs, to start new generations. So, but they don't really harm anything. They're just kind of an annoying thing. There's something to talk about in a couple of years too.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's go to number 3.
Sure.
Turkey season.
Yeah.
Started April 12th, and how long does that last?
Well, in Illinois, it runs all the way through, I think, the first or second week in May. It's 5 seasons in Illinois. Now, Iowa's season, I think, even goes longer than that. But check your regulations. For Illinois, the permits, it allows you 3 permits per year. And you can have it during any of the seasons. You can only take 3 turkeys, of course, with the 3 permits. They're by county and they're by season. So check your permits very, very closely and make sure you're hunting the right season. Landowner permit allows you to hunt any of the lands you own and basically any of the 5 seasons. But remember, it's 1 turkey per permit, has to have a beard or be a male, one of the 2. And there are bearded hens out there too. I actually shot one 2 or 3 years ago. So the hens do occasionally get beards, not very often. Normally it's the males. And I did get one opening the first season. First season's usually kind of strange. This year was cold. It was into the 30s several days, and there was frost on my tent. And the unusual thing, if you're sitting in these tents, they're not completely waterproof. So when the sun hits the tent and melts the frost, a lot of times you're taking a shower inside the tent. It drips right through the fabric. So that's one of the pleasures of turkey hunting. And of course, you're dealing with ticks. A lot of guys don't use tents like I do. They sit outside. So once again, be careful with the ticks. And one other related thing too, Craig, on that, the morels are starting to pop. At least they were until last night when it got cold. But the little gray ones are out. So in Illinois, at least, the turkey season runs until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I would suggest probably waiting until after 1 to go out and look for morels. If you are on private ground, at least wear an orange hat or something orange so people can see you. You don't want to get shot. On state property, you can't hunt morels until after 1 o'clock. So, but I'd still wear an orange cap just in case. Every once in a while somebody goes past 1 o'clock hunting. They shouldn't, but it happens. And just protect yourself that way.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go to, kind of stay in this area.
Sure.
Number 6, fishing.
Yeah, fishing is going to start picking up if it hasn't already. I talked to a guy that does a lot of fishing on the Mississippi who was up at Bellevue 2 weeks ago, and he said it was really slow. In fact, they were the only boat there, and he picked up 1 sauger. I think he caught a couple catfish, and that was it. So, but things should be picking up with the other species. The water's starting to warm up. There's going to be some spawning happening very shortly if it hasn't already. You always look at that water temperature around 50 to 52 degrees for spawning, and things will start moving then. But the bluegills should be picking up, the crappies, channel cats. We're a little early for those yet, but when we get closer to May, I always like to fish the riprap for channel cats in May. If you can time it at about the time school starts getting out, that's when the channel cats start spawning. And if you can find riprap and use a slip bobber and just a warm, real simple rig, you can really clean up on them. And they're fun to catch this time of year too. They're very strong, even if you don't keep them. They're a great fight. They fight better than a bass. Really. They don't jump, but boy, they're strong. So a couple things going on with fishing. Keep an eye on the river. So far, so good. We haven't had any flooding issues.
It's just the last
come
couple
up
days
a little
it's
bit.
come up.
Yeah, just slightly, but we had that big rain a week or so ago. But other than that, things have been fairly stable. What I would look for, though, this in the spring especially, if you can time it so you get out right after rain when the little creeks and feeder streams are coming up, that's when fish get really active because they know there's going to be bait washed into the river, and find those creek mouths and fish those. And you can really clean up on a number of different species because they'll gather at those mouths knowing that the bait's coming out, through the water flow. So any place like that's always good, be careful when the water's coming up. But if you hit it just right, you can have a really good day out there. So.
Now, I also see number 11 is bow fishing.
Yeah.
Keep within that.
I still do it occasionally. I used to go north of Fulton, above the dam there in those backwaters. And if you can hit it just right on a sunny day and the water's about 52, 54 degrees, you'll get 30, 40, 50-pound carp in the backwaters. And it's amazing. I used to bow fish out of a little canoe, and there'd be times I'd hit them. They towed me around the backwaters. And it was fun. I got a picture of myself and another friend of mine that came up. I think we hit 20 that day, and we almost flooded the canoe with the weight of the fish. But what's weird is most of the time they're really spooky fish, and you're in shallow water. But when they're spawning like that, you can literally reach down and grab them. So, but yeah, bow fishing's fun. In Illinois, you can do any rough fish. Don't shoot bass, crappie, bluegill, anything like that, a game fish. But any of the rough fish, you certainly can take. So, and it's good practice too for archery.
All right. Well, why don't you pick a topic here? I've been kind of picking a few.
Yeah, a little bit of news on our office. As of right now, and this could change because Illinois' positivity rate's going up with this virus, but as of right now, our office is open for appointments. One person at a time can come into the counter. You have to wear a mask. You'll have to go through a series of questions about, your general health and that. But if you call and make an appointment, you can come through the door that's been locked now. One person at a time, though, one on each side, one for FSA, one for NRCS. So just call. We'll try to get you in when we can. We haven't had a lot of people in. I think we had 3 or 4, and everybody's been very good about wearing masks and complying. And so far, so good. But the biggest problem we've got right now is there's a few people in the office that still haven't been vaccinated. So that's why we're wearing masks, just to protect them. But at least on our side, the majority of us have had at least one poke, if not 2. So.
Yeah, I think everybody here's been poked.
Yeah. What are they calling it now? The Fauci ouchie or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's, hopefully at some point this summer, we can get through this and, open up for regular business again. Because I've got people asking me all the time, when can I come in and see? I said, well, you can come out in the shed and hopefully it'll be a nice warm day and you won't be freezing out there. But one person at a time, call before you come over. Be prepared to run through that questionnaire and wear a mask.
Okay.
Try to get you
in. And one more real quick one.
Sure. Burning, if you got CRP, at least in Illinois, burning season's done until August 1st. Any activity on CRP that you have to do now, you need to call the FSA office and get it okayed. We're starting into the primary nesting season. This is going to slow it down a little bit with this kind of cool, wet weather, but anything after April 15th, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you need to have it okayed by FSA. Don't go out and just do it. If we get a call, you're probably going to be in violation on your CRP otherwise. So just a word of caution.
Dave Harrison with the Whiteside County Soil and Water Conservation District. And for this month's information, we'll talk to you next month. All right. And Gary, back to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Radio Iowa News, and Paul Dimkowski will be in with Wheel and Deal, followed by John Tesh, Intelligence for Your Life. Again, coverage of the 100th running of the Gateway Classics will be coming your way on KROS. It's going to be overcast today, temperatures only in the mid-40s. Thankfully, however, those northwest winds at only 5 to 10 miles per hour. Right now it is 36 degrees. Thank you for being with us. Do enjoy your day.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.9.
And KROSradio.com.
This is Radio Iowa.